is gonna be a fun one. I think this is gonna be a fun one.
I don't know about fun, but nothing on here fun.
Yeah, maybe not fun. We'll see how it roll out. Yeah, late ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today all year, coming with another wonderful episode of That's Right, Loungin. We late night live chilling. I am not by myself. I'm joined to my left, the awesome, the incredible Lady Lisa. What's up?
Hey, y'all.
People. You know what? Look, we were supposed to be here Friday. Fridays be weird sometimes, and we couldn't get it. But you know what? You made it a whole week. Your sunshiny faces are here. Happy to see you, whether you're in the chat early, whether you're on the replay. Glad to see you. You know what I'm saying? Good to have you here. If you'd allow me, I'd like to start with the Senate race first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because going and break down what went down with the Senate race.
I don't know.
Or the California Senate race for District 30.
Okay. So there was a special election for District 30, California State Senate race. All right. So what we were checking out, what we do when we vote is we actually, go and we research, the candidates. We are very careful and, meticulous and all that kind of stuff. So we go through, we find their website and we go through and see what their platform is, all that kind of stuff, right? And so for this race, there were 7 candidates, all right?
Yep.
5 were black.
Uh-huh.
1 was white. 1 Latino. So we were like, oh, wow, it's really cool that there are 5, candidates. That's great.
We got 5 black people to choose from, y'all.
So we're going through and we're pretty much checking for black issues. We're just going to be real with it.
Look.
What y'all feel about reparations? What you feel about defunding the police?
Yep. We're black first.
Blackity black.
2A
right?
second.
Okay. So we're going through and we're noticing with the black candidates, it's like, y'all ain't talking about nothing to do with black folks and you black. Like, if you did a search, a Google search for black in your whole page, we wouldn't find anything. So we're
not a drop. And there's 5 candidates.
Yep. We trying
5 of the 7
we
are
trying
black.
to support, black, but we ain't gonna support you just cause you black if you not for black, if you get what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Skin and kin. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying.
So actually the Latino candidate, who was a very young man, I believe
Young guy.
He was very young.
Ernesto Huerta.
Yeah.
Sorry if I mispronounce it, but Ernesto, we here. I mean, whether you meant it or not, at least he had, we here.
Yeah, he was running as, independent?
He's on the Peace and Freedom Party.
Peace and Freedom Party. So
But,
he was not running as Democrat nor
Nope.
Republican. And
He's young.
Very young. And he talked about defunding the police, I believe. He also talked about reparations. So,
reparations for black people, not reparations for people of color or reparations for Native Americans too. But no, reparations for black people.
So he talked about
this
all
is
of
coming
those,
from the Latino man.
Yeah, so he talked about all of those issues that were important to us, and so we were like, we found a person that we're going to vote for. It's like we wanted to vote for a black candidate, but we're not going to vote for you just because you're black if you're not going to address the issues. And so we voted for him. We just thought it was very interesting, to say the least, and disappointing.
Yeah, interesting and disappointing.
That none of the black candidates, were discussing those issues. So
I mean, not one of them.
Not one.
And Sydney Kamlager, she won. But, nobody was even pretending to care about black issues.
So
except the young guy, Ernesto Huerta. So hey man, look, hey, we here, man.
We thank you for trying, Ernesto.
Thank you for trying, man. Look, look, if you want to come on the show,
keep pushing.
holler at me. We can talk some politics. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'll reach out to him. See what we can do.
Keep pushing. But that was disappointing,
to say the least.
Yeah.
So, what did you want to touch on next? Because there is the whole issue around the anti-Asian or the black versus Asian myth that I want to get into.
I mean, we don't have nothing fun to talk about, so it really doesn't matter what we discuss. It's all,
So let's talk about this whole black versus Asian myth. It's a myth. It's not happening. Black people are not running the streets and beating up Asian people. It's not going on. Now, has there been violence against Asian people? Yes, there has. But are black people committing it? So let's get into it. There's a story that was ran by ABC News. And ABC News was like, hey, African Americans attacking Asian Americans, ? And then Daniel Day Kim and Representative Grace Ming. And they go into, go in and breathe hard. So they open up this story with a couple, an Asian woman, her white husband. We ain't even going to touch that. We ain't got time to touch that. So an Asian woman with her white husband, her father had been attacked by a black teen, not a group of them, not a gang of them, a black teen that admittedly did not know whether the man was Asian or not because he was mentally, he has, mental issues.
No, that's not why. It's because her dad had on a hat and a mask.
Oh yeah, but I'm going to get to that. I'm trying to set the scene. So He said he didn't know he was Asian. He has mental issues, and then on top of that, the man had a hat and a mask, so he didn't know he was Asian. But he runs up to the older man. He pushes him. When he pushes him, he hits his head, and he has complications where he died 3 days later. He died 2 or 3 days later in the hospital. So he dies as a result of this attack, and that's horrible. That should not have happened. But in this realm that we talk about, especially when it comes to criminals and perpetrators, about mental impairments, mental issues, it seems that consideration isn't being given to this young man for mental issues. Instead, what's happening to this young man is that he's becoming a poster child to spark this conversation about something that's not really happening. Now, during this time, meaning the last year, 2020, the 20 years of 2020, escalations of anti-Asian sentiment has risen. But it has risen admittedly from Daniel Day Kim, Representative Grace Ming, under the Trump administration, which is not a black administration. When you look at those Trump rallies and all those people that's following Trump, it's not a black constituency. But somehow, there's an escalation in this violence, and black people are being blamed for it. Now, the issue that happened with the older gentleman in San Francisco is heart-wrenching. It's bad, and I wish that never happened to him. But trying to transfer that into a situation where black people are attacking Asian people, it's just not happening. This is what you would like to call an isolated incident, especially after finding out that this man did not know he was Asian to begin with. It's not a hate crime. So this is when we enter into the story. And on ABC News, the young lady and her husband are talking about, Asians have been being attacked and the escalations are going up. And they're talking about percentages going up. And the interesting thing is they're talking about the escalation of percentages, but they're not talking about who's doing it. The only thing they have is one instance of one black person. And
then they show these news clips of all these other attacks, and those attacks are not by black people.
At all.
In the video clips. We're watching the video clips, and these attacks are not by black people.
They're not black people.
You can't use these as examples because they're not black.
Because they're not black. So then Daniel Day Kim, unfortunately, he's an actor that I think is dope. He comes on and talks about this anti-Asian sentiment, kind of jumping off the point of being black versus Asian. And he names white people, that he names 3 instances of white people being anti-Asian. So I'm like, okay, so we got the lady come up. She has one actual instance of a black teen pushing over her father. He dies from complications. we actually find out that he didn't know whether the guy was white, Asian, Hawaiian, Guatemalan, Haitian, whatever. He didn't know who it was. He just knew it was a guy. And then they go on to show clippings of white people being anti-Asian. And Daniel Day Kim comes on and has 3 examples of white people being anti-Asian. But the articles or the story's heading is African Americans attacking Asian Americans. Keep that in your mind. The whole story is about how black people are attacking Asians. And then you even have her white husband talking about African Americans, if you can talk to your friends and your family. It's like
if you don't
it's not happening. This is not happening. You tried to make this you're trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, it's not happening. So then we get to talk to Representative Grace Ming. Representative Grace Ming has the nerve to start crying as she talks about verbal issues that she's dealt with, meaning like verbal harassment, meaning like someone calling her a racial slur, of course, for Asian people, or saying, calling her yellow skinned or whatever it is, doing something Asian, all right, saying something bad about Asians. And she starts crying over this. About like, we don't feel like, we're American. And she's crying over this. And I can't help but see how full of poop this whole story is, and she is for being a part of it. Because if there's anyone who has been shown and told and forcibly slapped in the face with the fact that they are not American, is black people.
Yeah.
And honestly, Asian people as a group, of course, I'm not going to talk about your one uncle that went through something. Asian people as a group have slid by on their model minority myth that has been undergirded and supported by white supremacy. Not until Trump came through and was like, hey, we hate, no, actually, not even, because when Trump first came through, he didn't even really care about Asians. I mean, he hated China as a country, but he wasn't coming after like Asians in America like that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until COVID came through. Huh?
That's true.
He wasn't even coming. He was really coming after celebrity and athletic black folks. That's what he was really coming after when he first started. Then he turned his eyes on Mexicans and the wall and everything. But for the most part, Asians have slid through that too. Why? Because in general, the Asian community stays out of these issues by turning a blind eye, therefore further supporting white supremacy by inaction. So, honestly, nothing's really happened until the whole COVID thing. So COVID comes through and then Trump's like, yo, it's the China virus, Chinese people doing things. He started that. Look behind him at his rallies. Whenever you see any ABC News, MSNBC, even the Comedy Central thing with the, what is the boy, the light-skinned boy from South Africa?
Trevor
whatever
Noah.
the boy is.
Trevor Noah.
When they go to those rallies, do you see just groups of black people just walking around? Who is the constituency of the Trump presidency? Let's be for real. So who are these attacks and these verbal assaults most likely coming from? And even the examples that we see in this ABC story. White people. But somehow the poster child is black people, African Americans attacking Asian Americans? Question mark, exclamation point. And black people like, what we do? Then we look at the story. Hold up, you got one black dude? One? And then your other 6 examples are all white people or white Latinos or white Latinx? Come on, bruh. Really? So it's our fault. So we did this. Okay, cool. Days later, there's a story on, we caught it on, was it KTLA? KTLA 5? They put up, I think it was KTLA. And they put up these percentages of anti-Asian attacks or sentiment or, hate crimes. 9% was physical, 6% was coughing or spitting on, and 71% was verbal abuse. The rest, I can't remember. I think they put it under other, so I don't know what other is. No one has died. And guess what? Of that percentages, none of them have been killed, been getting killed by cops at all. So now what we're going to do is try to derail the Black Lives Matter movement, or the movement to just defund police, whether it's Black Lives Matter or not, just black people uprising against the nation, the state of police that are trying to subject, subdue, and kill them pretty much at their whim without any kind of punishment or recourse. We're going to suppress that and replace that with civilian violence, which is 71% verbal abuse.
Yeah.
Verbal abuse. Now, I know before people come up in here, it is not that I have something against Asian people. I don't. I know Asian people that are cool. I know Asian people that are whack. You know what I'm saying? And when I say whack, I mean they look down on you because of the fact that you are brown, black, dark skinned, whatever. So I know both spectrums. I've been in stores where people follow me all around the place, whether it's in Virginia, whether it's California. People that be all over your shoulder when you're just trying to pick something up. I've been through that. And that is not in any way some kind of random or isolated incident. It's so big now that it's become a joke in the black community.
Yeah.
So big now that black women have been attacked by Asian people in their own stores.
Yep.
So big now that Korean distributors have organized against anyone that's black that tries to open a black hair care supply place. So if we're going to talk about where the anti-sentiment is coming from, whether it's black to Asian or Asian to black, let's be for real. It's Asian to black. And it's been Asian to black for a long time. Mm-hmm. For a long time. And I'm not even tripping. I'm not like, yo, let's go get some Asian people. Nah, black people generally just don't deal with Asian people because we know the deal. America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube has a song called Black Korea, and that came out like, 91? Come on, man. The deal's been known when it comes to Asian people and how they feel in general about black people. I'm not talking about black culture. I'm not talking about them loving our music or loving our athletes. I'm talking about loving us. So, then, there's another statement that comes through on a USA Today article that says, and while roughly 90% of the incidents don't rise to the level of criminally prosecutable hate crimes, they're dehumanizing. Look, I feel for you. But y'all trying to make this weird jump and push against, like, dude, I'm sorry. Some verbal abuse that's dehumanizing and then try to blame it on us? Nah, bro, I'm sorry. I ain't got nothing for you. So anyway, Godzilla Megatron, yo, look, you done put, look, that's a heck of a character. Godzilla Megatron comes through and says, you think the media trying to start a race war between Asians and blacks? Nah, no. I think what they're trying to do is divert attention from Black Lives Matter. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think they're trying to, yes, divert from that, but they're also trying to flip it in terms of putting us in a position of being of victimizing others versus us being the victims.
Yeah, and they'll be like, they could be like, oh look, well you racist, you beating up Asian people.
Yeah,
it's like, no,
because as of right now, there isn't much denying, unless you live under a rock, there isn't much denying that we are the victims of police brutality.
And then of course we covered Jenny Mai's statement last week about like there's no racial hierarchy. Yes, there is, and you know it. Yeah. She even references model minority in her own statement like a paragraph later. Yeah. There is a racial hierarchy and you know that.
Yeah. So, I really think that's what it is. I mean, I don't really see, anyone thinking that it's plausible to have a race war between Asians and blacks. Nah. I don't see that happening. But, they are able to divert, and I think it's perfect simply because stereotypically, Asians are seen as being docile, and stereotypically, black people are seen as being aggressive. So it's like, oh, that's perfect. Let's pick the people that, are aggressive and say that they're attacking these people that are very docile and calm and peaceful. So it's I think that's actually the goal.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, come on, man. Like, let's be for real. So then we get a story out of Denver, reported on February 2nd, where 2 teens are charged as adults in connection to Denver house fire that killed Senegalese family. And oh, sorry, I forgot. Usually I post the links in the chat. I completely forgot. Here's the link in the chat for this story. Apologies. So anyway, in this article, you see that the 2 teens, one is white and the other is Asian. So now we have one instance of a black teen attacking, pushing a Asian man, complications, goes to death. Okay, now we have a whole story. We have to do a segment on ABC News, right? Conversely, we have an Asian teen who sets a house on fire and kills 5 black people, a whole family. But there's no story about is there Asian versus black, is the Asian community. You don't see nobody on TV tell Asians, tell your Asian friends and tell your Asian family to stop beating us.
Yeah.
Where's that? And then actually in ABC News' same story, they show a Asian guy that comes from New York to San Francisco to join a rally or something like that. And he was talking about how good it was to see black people out there too. So I'm like, okay, so in the same story, you're going to say black people attacking y'all, but then also show that black people fighting for y'all. Which one is it?
Yeah. Because
it's a myth, y'all.
I think also
it's not happening.
I think also too is they're taking advantage of the fact that people read headlines and they do not read complete stories for the most part. And then what they do is they read the headline and pretty much make up what the story must be about and have an argument about it.
They have their conversations around the headline.
Yeah.
They'll be like, I saw an article. And like, matter of fact, my response from now on will probably be like, when someone's like, I saw an article, be like, did you read the article? Or did you see it?
Right, because people do
that. I feel like you saw the headline and now you're going to try to have a conversation.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've seen that on Facebook and people comment and then somebody else in the comment goes, did you actually read the article? Because what they'll start talking about is not at all what the article says. They'll be like, did you read the article?
And shout out to Thought Crimes. I remember I was on Thought Crimes once. And there was an article about black men, their support for Trump rising like 20% or something like that. Like rising like 20, 30%, something like that. And so I was like, wow, this is an interesting story. I haven't heard anything about this. So I started reading it. And then at the bottom of the article, under everything, at the very bottom, after this title of like, black men support for Trump rising, when you get to the bottom of the article, they say that they studied 198 black men. That's not even 1%. That's not even 1% of 1% of our community. What? That's not you. You wrote a story because you studied less than 200 people, and that's supposed to be indicative or representative of all black men? Hey, come on. But you get to take that big old headline and run with it.
Right.
It's like, come on, man. Like, stop the nonsense. So, just so you know, just to give y'all a little heads up, so y'all have a little some nuggets to chew on, to bite on. As a matter of fact, hold up, let me put in the other articles that we had because make sure y'all got them. So if y'all can read them, and if y'all ever need to reference them or something, to somebody, saying come at you like, oh, black people beating up Asians all over the place. You'll be like, well, actually, it's not happening. Actually, it's not happening. The same amount of black attacks as of late have been the same amount of Asian attacks as of late, which is 1-to-1. And actually, you could say that the scale tips to the Asian because more people died. But it's just like, come on, man. It's just, it's not happening. It's just not really happening. But the links are in there. The ABC News link is in there. The USA Today link is in there as well. But yeah, so just look, Daniel Day Kim, you're part of a story that tries to make it seem like black people are attacking Asian people, and the 3 references you have are of white people. Or sorry, 2 white people and 1 white Latin. So, come on, man. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on. Let's shake the dust off of that one.
Yeah.
So, where you want to go next?
Let's go ahead and talk about the Chauvin
yeah.
trial.
I guess go on. I'll let you run that out, and I'll put the link in the chat.
So there's an NBCNews.com article. Only one George Floyd family member at a time allowed in Chauvin trial. Judge rules. The ruling also applies to the family of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer on trial in Floyd's death. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill said different family members will be able to rotate through the position. The ruling also applies to Chauvin's family. Cahill wrote in his ruling, the trial order requires all parties to follow coronavirus restrictions, including keeping 6 feet apart from other people and wearing masks. It bans any mask or article of clothing that contains any image, logo, letters, or numbers that are visible. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Attorneys Benjamin Crump and Antonio Romanucci said in a joint statement Tuesday that the past year has been a deeply painful and emotional year, blah, blah, blah. While they understand the judge's reasons to limit attendance in the courtroom, the family is understandably disappointed by this ruling. The family is looking forward to the start of the trial as a critical milestone on the path to justice and a step toward closure, blah, blah, blah. My thing with this is, this
ain't got nothing to do with COVID.
Yeah, I understand you have to limit stuff for COVID, but I mean, the courtroom isn't like a closet. So what you could do if you really cared is to limit how many people from the press get in there, because I know that's who's taking up all this space. Let's just be real. And so you could limit the press and allow more family members to be in there, because the thing is about having you have one family member in there by themselves listening to this, and this is a family member who has lost a loved one in a very gruesome way, and they have no support. They're in there by themselves with not even one person sitting beside them as support. Yeah, and,
it's done on purpose. This has nothing to do with COVID. Because what they're doing is saying, oh, well, this is COVID, but these people live together. So it's not an issue where...
Well, I don't know.
Well, some probably live together. Maybe not all, but some probably do. And if they're keeping their masks on, then it should be fine. The issue is, this is the only other way we have to try to punish you for trying to punish us. We could not get the trial moved. We wanted to move it away. We couldn't get the trial moved. So now what we're going to try to do is make it as hard for you as possible. Because now you have to be in here by yourself instead of with your loved ones going through this, like you said.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So in Minnesota, matter of fact, it better not be one of them states that ain't got no mask mandate too. Because if they don't, I'm going to be like, yeah, ain't nobody trying to hear all that. But we'll follow it and we'll see. We'll follow it and we'll see what happens in this. I believe lately there was an appeal from the prosecution for the let me see. I remember Chauvin was trending earlier today, and I believe it was because there was an appeal from the prosecution. But I'm gonna have to find that and pull that up for Friday, because I can't remember exactly how it went down. So I'll look for that for Friday, and we'll follow up and we'll see how this goes, because I am hopeful that there's a conviction, but we know. Yeah. We know, and I'm prepping myself for what we all kind of know. But I will say this, like I've said many times, when it comes to the government and how they treat the people, if you don't fix it, the people gonna fix it. And if the people have to fix it, things are gonna burn.
And see,
And all the way back to the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
When Britain didn't fix it, things burned. So all I can say is take that in mind.
Yeah, and let me say this too. The thing is, you know, I love watching court shows.
Yep.
I love watching, you know, the what I call the mainstream ones, you know, that are scripted, and then the actual video of court. I don't know. I just love it. And, you know, I hear all the time about precedent, and they quote, you know, lawyers will, you know, quote and refer to cases before where this happened and this was the ruling in this case, and so that's why it should be the ruling in this case, right? So what is happening now is there is right now a plethora, really, of cases for lawyers to choose from in terms of when cops are killing black people and get away with it. And what's happening is more and more and more, there are these cases all with different, you know, details and circumstances that they can refer to and say, hey, referring to such and such case, you know, these were the circumstances with these cops, which is similar to the circumstances with these cops, and and they were found not guilty because
even
of
if they have
XY.
to make a reach for it,
Right.
they'll still.
And you know, and so I'm saying that they should be found not guilty because of X, Y, and Z, and because of how the system is set up, a judge could look at it and go, yep, you know what, you're right. And so they're setting these precedents, and it's happening over and over again until it's going to be to the point where it's like we're stuck. You know, we're stuck because all of these precedents are stuck on the, you know, are on the book now in record. And so it's like, unless somebody's going to swoop in and really cape for a law to be changed, because that's the thing now. It's because there is a law on the books that protects cops more than to protect somebody being murdered. That's the underlying problem. So it's really crazy because it's a catch-22. We get frustrated when these cops keep getting off, but it's because of how the law is written, and it's also because of how these lawyers and judges go in and say, okay, these are the charges, right? And they get very specific. And it's like, if you can't find them guilty of specifically X, Y, and Z, then they have to be found not guilty.
Yeah.
And so if you get that specific and you only say we're charging them with these specific things and leave other things out, that's how these cops keep getting off. Because it's like, but you didn't include all these other things they could have been charged with.
Yeah. And all I'll say is, you know, it ain't gonna last forever. I think what we saw last year was just a small beginning of people being tired. And for the system's sake, y'all better start punishing at least some of these police, because if you don't, there's diminishing returns when it comes to human nature. And do you think that last summer is going to be enough for people this year? If you come out here and say, oh, well, he's acquitted, or even if you're like conviction and he'll serve, you know, 1 year in jail. I'm just saying, I think it's probably best that y'all either stop one thing or stop the other. Like y'all, because if y'all keep going, people ain't going to keep protesting peacefully. This rebellion that's coming is well-deserved, and there's pretty much one way to stop it, which is stop what you're doing that makes people want to rebel.
Yeah.
But we'll follow it. We'll see what goes on. And
because that's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, and we'll be watching it and following up with it weekly and whatever we get. And
I don't know if it's going to be televised or not.
Oh yeah, they might not televise it.
So
we'll
they
see. Might not televise. They'll probably be slick and not televise it.
We'll see.
I guess there's maybe one more thing.
There's one more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one more real thing. I think, or you want to talk about Cuomo? You want to talk about Missouri Supreme Court? What you want to get into?
Cuomo? Did we have?
Because you got Cuomo up in the streets, out in the streets these days. He like, I ain't resigning.
Oh yeah, we do have Cuomo.
He like, I ain't going nowhere. Cuomo like, we ain't going nowhere.
Let's go ahead and talk about
we
that.
Ain't going nowhere.
Governor Cuomo has been accused of, I don't know, like exactly sexual misconduct,
sexual harassment, sexual misconduct. I think that's it. I'll see what he's charged with.
I don't, but we watched. Was it a special or was it what was it?
There was an interview with a lady that had been working with him, I believe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And let's see it. So it's sexual harassment.
Okay.
So and he's been sexually harassed. Well, allegedly sexually harassing 4 women now that we know of, because there was 3 women that were like newer women, and then 1 other woman that came out that was older that said like, yeah, he did this to me way back when.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna tell you, like we talked about this yesterday, and I was saying, what's really interesting is that people are still, even though we talk about this, people are still like, oh, he got accused of such and such, and they say it in a way like he did it, like because he's accused, he did it, and that he should be ashamed for even being accused. And I understand the concept of that. There's certain things, it's kind of embarrassing to be accused of, but it's like it's automatic assumption that he did that, because I've heard people,
I get you.
They start saying, oh, well, he should be ashamed of himself for doing that. It's like, well,
we don't technically know if he did it.
Like,
but I get what you're coming from.
And it's crazy. And then, people are like, oh, well, he needs to apologize. And it's like, but wait a minute. He was accused, and I don't know. And watching that interview with that one lady who said he did this 20 years ago, she seemed, something just wasn't right about her. She was backpedaling with her words and switching up words. She was kind of, I don't know. She was mentioning things that didn't need to be mentioned. She was like, we were both married, and I told him it was getting too personal, and I'm like, that's an odd thing to say to someone that is assaulting you. This is getting too personal.
So hopefully we'll find something out more, because
that sounded like someone who is trying to convince you that the two of you shouldn't be engaging in what you two are getting ready to engage in.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Versus, look, this isn't appropriate. I don't want to do this. And then she tells him, well, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to my room.
Yeah, that's not
what
you would. At least in my mind, instead of being like, I'm tired, I'm going to my room, you have to know that sooner or later, that's just kind of kicking the can down the road instead of like putting a definite. But I mean, of course, you don't want to lose your job. I mean, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Maybe.
I don't know.
It's weird. We'll see. But
it is.
In the New York Times article, they say sexual harassment claims against Cuomo, what we know so far. 5 women have accused Governor Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment or inappropriate behavior, prompting calls for his resignation. Now, of course, we already know that he ain't resigned. Well, he hasn't resigned yet, and said he ain't resigning. He said he ain't going nowhere. I gave y'all the link on Twitter already. So here's what we know. An ex-aide said Mr. Cuomo asked about her sex life. It says Charlotte Bennett, 25-year-old former aide of the governor, accused him of sexually harassing her last year, telling New York Times that Cuomo, 63, had asked her about her sex life and whether she had ever had sex with older men. And quoting saying, I understood the governor wanted to sleep with me and felt horribly uncomfortable and scared. And was wondering how I was going to get out of it and assumed it was going to be the end of her job. Then another former aide said the governor kissed her on the lips, quoting, as I got up to leave and walked toward an open door, he stepped in front of me and kissed me on the lips. Then continued saying, I was in shock, but I kept walking. So and then saying his abuse of power never ends. He does not get to choose his judge and jury. We do. Talking about, like the women, like where, we got power. A third woman recounted an unwanted advance from the governor at a wedding. saying, "I was so confused and shocked and embarrassed. I turned my head away and didn't have words in that moment." Saying that she encountered Cuomo at a wedding they attended in September 2019. They began talking about a toast the governor had given, but Mr. Cuomo then put his hand on her bare lower back and said, when she removed his hand, she said, sorry, when she removed his hand with her own, the governor remarked that she seemed aggressive and placed his hand on her cheeks as if he could kiss her. So, that's another one. Being a little too handsy, a little bit too forward. Now, we got the sort of semi-apology from Cuomo saying like, hey, look, I didn't know, these things that happened. I didn't know that they were received that way. I would, like, hey, look,
but
it
we don't
was
know,
all in a good-natured way. That's what
and we don't know what things he was referring to because there are these different, accusations. Different accusations coming from different women. So I don't know what he's referring to. All I know is because we know how black men, are accused, of just anything. We have to be careful in general, of just jumping on the train and saying, oh, he was accused, he must have did it. We have to be very careful with that. And we have seen, instances of women accusing men and they find out they just flat out lied, and it was untrue. So, we just have to be careful. I know people want to say believe women, and I say no, listen to women. Women deserve to be
listen.
We deserve to be heard. I think it's completely absurd to say automatically believe a woman just because she said that it happened. That is completely ridiculous.
True
that goes against common sense. That goes against the law and our supposed justice system. But that goes against all of that. I mean, if that's the case, then any woman could say anything and you just gonna believe it, and it's ridiculous. We deserve to be
in jail.
We deserve to be heard, and it should be, of course, taken seriously and looked into. But I don't think it's right to just jump, simply because it's been said, and simply because I think it's understood that hey, you have to have more than one woman come forward. It has to be a number in order for it to really be taken seriously.
All right, word. Because, I don't know. On one hand, him saying he ain't going to resign seems like, yo, man, I'm good. I know I ain't do nothing crazy.
Either that or I'm just going to ride until the wheels fall off.
Or I'm going to ride to the wheels like y'all going to make me get fired.
Y'all going to prove I did this. All right, okay, all right.
All right, I did it. You got me. Or it's a situation where, at least in these stories that I've heard, it was like, okay, he shoots his shot, you say no, and then there's nothing else. At least that's what it seems like from these stories. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case,
I guess the issue is
maybe he's okay because he's not technically harassing them. But then you got the situation where he kissed the old girl. Like, that one's different. Like, asking a lady if she's like, yo, do you have sex with older dudes? That's one thing as opposed to kissing a woman on her lips.
Yeah,
that's
because
different.
One is inappropriate. The other is
straight up physical contact.
That's considered sexual assault.
Yeah, you crossed over from harassment into sexual assault. You kissed this woman.
Well, not even harassment, because if you ask a woman, does she sleep with older men or whatever, that's not harassment if you ask her once. If you continue to ask her, it is. But asking her once, that's not. I know we've heard these ridiculous stories. That's not harassment.
You might not like it, but
that might be inappropriate.
So, okay. I see where you're coming from on that one.
It's inappropriate at best, which inappropriate is not a crime.
Yeah, inappropriate is like, and like even he says in the article, he talks about like, hey, I didn't know it was going to be received this way. I didn't, when I was doing it, it was like in good-natured fun. Let's see, hold up. How did he word it? I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable, he said on March 3rd. It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it. I feel awful about it and frankly embarrassed by it. And that's not easy to say, but that's the truth. So he said he never touched anyone inappropriately. So then that's him saying definitively, I didn't touch anyone inappropriately. So that means the kissing thing he's saying is a lie, and that the woman about the wedding has to be a lie, because he said, I never touched anyone inappropriately. Then says, I never knew at the time that I was making anyone feel uncomfortable, and I certainly never meant to offend anyone or hurt anyone or cause anyone any pain. That is the least thing I would ever want to do. So
Yeah. We'll
see, because this could be a smoke screen of someone who's about to go on a run.
He did also say that he understands that times have changed and things have progressed. So what that translates to me is, back in the day, I could walk in and smack my secretary on the butt, and it was just a normal.
Because he is 63.
It was just a normal Tuesday.
You're right. Now, he is 63.
But now it's Me Too.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think...
Because that means he came up under... The men he came up under as he was climbing the political ladder, you know, they probably... Like, hey, toots.
I think
you
it's
know
a little
bit.
They
probably hit you with one of them joints.
I think it's a little bit of both. And but I'm going to be honest with you. Like we were saying, I understand when women are victims of sexual assault and rape that it takes years and years and years, or can take years and years and years for them to get it together to the point where they want to make it public. But when you're talking about someone who's like, oh, you know, he hugged me and, you know, pulled me in close, and it takes you 20 years to tell somebody that. Oh,
yeah, because that lady, she said he gave her an intimate hug.
And I'm like,
and I was like,
and
okay.
it took you 20 years to talk about this
all
man?
he did is hug her. Because I was thinking, after he hugged her, he slid his hand, maybe cuffed the booty up. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
she didn't say none of that.
I'm like,
so I was like, but oh no, she did say she could feel that he was erect in the hug. She did say that. So maybe, maybe pulled her in real tight and kind of like, pumped her. You know what I'm saying?
But she didn't say that. But she didn't say that though. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
So I was just like, okay, man, why did it take you 20 years to report this? You're not saying he assaulted you.
It doesn't sound that traumatizing, but maybe she was scared to get fired. I don't know.
Well, then say that. But see, because it sounds bad when you say that, because we've talked about that.
Oh, yeah, because we've talked about you get your career popping, and then you want to come back and be like,
and
you know what I'm saying?
take issue with that. Again, I'm not being insensitive to women who are being assaulted and raped. But I take issue and I do a side eye at these women who say that these men are behaving inappropriately, right? And so then they don't say anything. They don't say anything for years and years and years. They go on and they go and have their wonderful, fantastic careers, make all this money. And then when they're cool and everything's all right with them, oh, now you want to put on the cape and, oh, I want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. You mean anyone else besides the 50
that went on while you was getting your career on?
It's like, no, that's not what you get to do. You don't get to do that.
So, I feel you on that one. That is so... Because her story, the way they framed it from the onset of the interview was like this was going to be a bombshell interview. And then you listen to it, it's like... So he hugged you. He
hugged you with an erect penis.
And he was erect. And that was it?
Yeah.
And
you told him you were sleepy and you're going to your room.
Like he didn't, you said, I'm going to my room, and you left? And like he didn't try to block your way or anything, or... try to like push you down or nothing. It seems like he tried to shoot his little shot, like, yo, I'm gonna let her feel it. And then you was like, nah. And he was like, oh well.
Now,
you know what I'm saying?
That's inappropriate.
It is inappropriate.
Completely inappropriate.
It is mad inappropriate.
I just where I'm coming from.
It's mad inappropriate.
I
do not suggest that any man try that and be like, yo, I'm gonna let her feel it.
Where I'm coming from with
I'm gonna wear some sweatpants, let her really feel, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Where I'm coming from with this is we just have to be really careful with saying someone assaulted someone, because assault, of course, we're talking legality, right?
Yeah.
Inappropriate behavior is not.
You get in this weird space of...
two different consequences, right? So, we just have to be really careful. And I don't know, I just feel like, that's just how I feel about it.
What up, Thomas D? Got Thomas D in the chat. He said, when shooting your shot goes wrong. Because, a lot of these stories, sister isn't a story following it. Like, these women recount a time that something happened, but then they never say, like, and he did it on, like, he did this on Tuesday.
Right.
And then he did it again on Thursday, and then again on Monday
Right.
and Tuesday, and then he did it again on Friday.
Or every
Then-
time we went on a trip
Yeah.
out of town, and
like
we
all
had
of
to
these
stay at a hotel. He
all
did
of
X,
these
Y, and Z.
situations were one-offs. So I wonder if this is like him trying to shoot his shot, and then them being like, and then him be like, oh well, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Again, that's inappropriate behavior.
Yeah, it's
but
definitely
we can't
inappropriate.
consider that assault. And
Word.
This is, to me, is when a group of women kind of insert themselves into the Me Too movement and kind of pull it off the rails and misuse it, quite honestly.
Yeah, this might. I don't know. It's weird. Well, they say the attorney general is investigating, so we'll see. Like maybe he wild, or Thomas D said he just nasty.
But nasty isn't a crime.
Yeah, but nasty isn't a crime. Shout out to that main chick. Nice to see you. So I don't know, because he said I ain't going nowhere, and he said I never touched anyone inappropriately. So that means at least A, he's like, you can't prove it, or B, he's like, yo, this really didn't happen, and I ain't resigning.
C, he don't consider it inappropriate.
Or C, he like, this ain't inappropriate, girl. I'm the governor. You get these governor lips.
Oh God.
You know what I'm saying? He be like, come here, girl. Mwah. She was like, I don't want that. I don't want it. He was like, what you mean, girl? Don't you know I'm the governor? I don't know why he sounds like that in my mind.
I'm not sure why he sounds like an old black man either.
I don't know why he sounds. All right, Governor Cuomo. All right, let me get my Cuomo.
No, please don't. Don't do it. Nope. Nope.
Don't you want these governor lips?
No, that's not it either.
I don't know if that's.
Please,
I don't know how he sounds.
Just stop.
I just know he said he ain't resigning. So now it's a battle of the attorney general versus the governor. You got the ladies. They're like, yo, you did this, and he like, yo, look, I thought we was chilling. I ain't know, yo, I'm sorry. I ain't even know it was good natured fun. That's what he said. I thought it was in all good nature.
Well, let's be for real. The real question is, what is Cuomo getting ready to do, or what has he done that has ticked somebody in power off? Let's just be real.
Well,
because when
he
you
also
start,
has that thing, people mad at him about how COVID went down in New York. So
when
people
you
mad about
start
that.
having, and I don't mean to be insensitive, I don't, but in general, when you start having women come out of the woodwork from 20, 30 years ago,
you
have to kind of look
you gotta
at it
like
sideways.
what Cuomo done messed up? Who mad at him? And funny, Thomas D said, right, good nature. Getting that nature, girl. Said one girl, he touched her lower back, you know what I'm saying? And he touched her lower back. Other lady he kissed when she was trying to walk away. One lady he hugged, had an erection. And the other one, he was like, yo, you sleep with older dudes? This honestly sounds like a guy that was trying to shoot his shot.
I need him
just
to get
the
out
wrong
more.
way.
Yeah, I need him to get out more.
He needed, but he been a governor so long, so he like, yo, I'm the governor. Y'all gotta be with me.
But you could do this at a bar. You don't have to do this within your office.
Can a governor go to the bar?
Michael.
Think this is fanfare. He's like a popular guy.
They have the bars where the politicians and all of them.
He can go.
Remember when we took that trip to D.C. We were sitting there eating it, and there was like this judge.
Yeah, there was a judge right there
in
D.C. That was a good spot.
That was a really good spot.
Oh, that was a good spot.
But
we gotta go back. But anyway, shouts to D.C. But Thomas D said he needs Tinder. Yep, yo.
No, he don't.
You know what? Don't. Cuomo could be up in there and just have his governor picture up there.
With his taco meat chest.
Yo, he doesn't some ladies like that. You know what I'm saying? Put it out there. No, Cuomo, don't put it out there.
He may not.
Because right now you don't need to put nothing nowhere.
He may or may not be a good judge of what is a good idea or not. Just saying.
All I'm saying is right now, Cuomo, look.
His judgment is on trial.
If you didn't do it, stay there, ride till the wheels fall off. Defend yourself. If you did it, you might want to fade back like Homer Simpson in the bushes, though. You might want to be like,
yeah.
I'm just saying, Cuomo, because it ain't looking good. Right? There's 5 women. I guess we'll see. We'll follow it up. See if some more come out. We'll see.
But see, I think what they if this is all false, I'll start with that.
Yeah.
If it's all false, I think will happen is they feel out what's being said and talked about in the media, how the media is handling this, what the, kind of the word on the street is, and like, okay, so we're gonna have to amp it up. We're gonna have to quote find someone. What's her name? Gloria Steinem, the female lawyer who pops up for this.
Oh, the
all
one,
time.
the lady that always come up and always representing women. She represent the girl that said Usher gave her herpes or something?
I think so. We'll get her to quote find someone else.
Remember that girl?
Yeah, we'll get her to quote find someone else and amp it up. If this is untrue, I feel like that's how it goes in cases where, but then there are cases where I think a little bit is true and a little bit is untrue because they're so busy trying to make sure they make their case. I think that's what happened with Bill Cosby. I think there were some things that were true and a lot that was untrue because they were so busy trying to make the case. They just kind of like packed it on where he had like, I don't know, it was like 40 women by the end of the day.
So when it gets that high, because I do say like there's a certain level, like there's a certain number of women when it kind of gets comical. When it's like, I get it, but it's like, dude. I don't want to say
comical because people are going to think you're being insensitive.
Well, no, not insensitive, but it's not comical of like what they've done, but comical like, all right, hold up. This many women?
Well, my thing is, we're supposed to believe
how this many women let this guy get that close?
My thing is, what we're supposed to believe is that in the late 60s and 70s, this black man, this visibly black man was out here just going willy-nilly with these very visibly white women.
With the sisters, if it was sisters, I'd be like, cool, I got you. But you like mean to tell me that in the 60s and 70s,
like this was
a black man was raping white women just left and right? You gonna have to give me some more CSI on this, my brother. I'm just saying.
And this is just
I'm gonna need some more CSI on this one, cause
and the white women aren't saying anything. They just hey,
I'm gonna need some more.
I just like. Okay. Like, in the America that we live in.
Like I remember the whole Nate Parker thing when they were like, "Oh, you raped this girl." So I was like, "Oh snap, he raped somebody." So I looked and I'm like, "Hold up." So he went to court for raping a white girl and was acquitted. Mm-hmm. A black man acquitted for raping a white girl. You know he ain't do that.
See?
Like, I'm like,
but see, people
he showed up. Because trust me.
But even with him being acquitted.
If a white woman tears up around a black man, they be having the cuffs ready for him.
But even with him being acquitted, they're still putting the story out.
Well, yeah, they still put the story out like it happened. Like, even the Kobe thing. Kobe died. The day wasn't over.
Man.
Before old girl from, what was it? Old girl from, I cannot remember, the Disney girl.
Brought up the
rape, like he raped somebody.
The rape charges,
no, he didn't. It's already been handled, and it's definitely handled in a way where we all know he did not rape this girl.
And why are you bringing?
So why are you bringing that right now? And you loud and wrong and late. So
see, that's why I say we have to be very careful, in just jumping on board just because somebody's accused.
Well,
that they're, and it's like.
But see, Cuomo white, so he be alright.
I'm just saying in general. As general practice.
Yeah, I feel you.
So.
Because you know what I'm saying. Look, as someone who has been accused twice before, and no, technically, due to that whole Twitter beef. Technically,
I've
been accused of being misogynistic as well.
Yeah.
So technically, I've been accused of what you would consider like Me Too atmosphere type stuff.
I'm gonna tell you what. To this day,
I don't mess with that girl.
If I was to see her somewhere, I would probably think twice about kicking her in her throat.
Yo, man, she whacked.
I'm just saying because the way that not only her. But all of your so-called people that just threw you under the bus and just left you there.
Yeah, they technically didn't even throw me under the bus. They just like sat there and watched the killing.
Yeah, and I was just like, for real. So y'all just.
But it's because that particular person has status in the in this
But
medium.
the thing
in
is,
this,
she ain't even had that much status. It's not like she's a freaking
but even
producer
if
or
you're
director.
even if I mean, that person is a producer, and well, I don't think that person
She
is
wasn't
director,
at the
but
time.
no, she did produce one thing, at least that I know of. But remember, even if someone's one step above you, there's a power imbalance that people treat you like you can't do no wrong.
That's a LA thing.
Yeah, it's an LA thing.
That's a LA thing, and it's gotten on my last.
But guys, with that said, that's personal stuff. We exercise the demons. I'm glad Thomas D came through. Glad for any of the lurkers that showed up. Much love to all y'all, because you know what? It's fun hanging out with y'all. So, to my left, Lady Lisa, say peace.
Bye, y'all.
NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. Man, much love to all y'all. I'm glad y'all came through. Of course, hit that thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Hit that thumbs down if you don't. If you hit that thumbs down, y'all gonna have to send Cuomo after you. All right, it's gonna be mad and appropriate. No, I'm just playing. I don't know. It's alleged right now, so I guess we'll see what we see. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he touched the back. Maybe he didn't touch the back. You know what I'm saying? We don't know yet. But look, I'm just saying, Cuomo, if you touch the back, look, you better do like Russell Simmons and just go to, I don't know, Thailand or what?
Oh,
Where he
Lord,
go?
I don't know.
Wherever
Somewhere he
went.
know can't nobody come get him.
You better just fly out there. You can kick it with Russ. You know what I'm saying?
Because he ain't coming back.
Russ ain't coming back. Russ will pretend like, oh, I was on vacation. Nah, bruh, he ain't never coming back.
You gonna go hang out with Roman Polanski.
Man, Thomas D said, remember, watch your shot or get blocked. So, of course, podcast for the sounds, Spotify for that music. And thank you, of course, once again. We're going to leave y'all with Arcatron. That's ARCKATRON.com. Much love for everybody from us. You were saying thank you for watching, and peace. We out. Let's do future sounds, because we're trying to get to the future. Yeah, we're trying to get to the future. We out. Yeah.